Hi, welcome back to I Create For You. We're going to do the very last story in the Haunted Pets book of True Ghost Stories by Alan Zulo. It's called The Ghost of Walker's Bay, and Mark's going to read it for me.
I'm drowning, I'm drowning. As she slipped under the water, Chelsea Emerson began to panic. I don't want to die. Moments earlier, the 9-year-old girl had been taking a sunrise stroll on the deck of her parents' 40-foot sailboat, the Sia. It was anchored in Walker's Bay, a quarter-mile offshore of a small island in the Bahamas. Because she could barely swim, Chelsea was supposed to wear her life jacket whenever she was topside. But having just awakened, the sleepy girl in her oversized t shirt carried the vest in her hand rather than putting it on. Up on deck, at the back of the yacht, Chelsea was watching the flight of a squadron of pelicans and not paying attention to where she was walking. She tripped over a coiled up rope and pitched forward. Her head smacked into the railing that encircled the deck and nearly knocked her out. Dazed and confused, Chelsea dropped her life jacket, staggered a few feet, and then tumbled over the railing and into the blue green Caribbean. Unable to come to her senses, Chelsea slid under the sea. Finally, as water rushed into her nose, she recovered enough for her survival instincts to take over. She flailed her arms wildly, trying desperately to reach the surface. Get to the top, she told herself. You need air now, or you're going to die. Kick, Chelsea, kick. She burst through the surface and gulped the air. But before she could yell for help, she went under again. As she fought to stay afloat, panic set in and Chelsea forgot everything she had learned about water safety. She didn't remain calm. She didn't remember to lean back and hold her breath so she could naturally float to the surface. All Chelsea knew was that she was underwater and facing death. By now, Chelsea began to feel her strength seeping out from her body. She knew that she didn't have much time left before she lost her battle with the sea. With one last effort, she clawed her way to the surface and uttered a weak cry for help, one that her sleeping parents below deck couldn't hear. With no one on the remote beach to help her, Chelsea knew she was doomed. Slipping again under the sea, she held her breath until her lungs felt as if they were on fire. I can't hold any longer. It's all over. I'm going to die. She was ready to give in to the urge to stop struggling. Suddenly, out of nowhere, she was yanked by the top of her t shirt and pulled to the surface, gagging, sputtering, and coughing. Chelsea gulped life giving air into her burning lungs. Oh, thank goodness, someone has saved me. Totally exhausted and too weak to utter anything but, don't let go of me, Chelsea turned around to see who had rescued her and couldn't believe her eyes. It wasn't a person. It was a tan and black German Shepherd. The dog released its grip on her t-shirt, and Chelsea frantically clutched its right hind leg. The worn-out girl barely had enough strength left to hold on. Using powerful paddling strokes, the dog slowly and steadily made its way toward shore, towing Chelsea to safety. When they finally reached the shallow water, Chelsea let go, staggered onto the beach, crumpled into a heap, and passed out. She awoke after the German Shepherd began licking her face. Chelsea threw her arms around the dog's neck. "Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you," she said. "You saved my life." The dog wagged its tail and backed away. Then it looked toward the sea. "Yeah," and began barking loudly and madly. Still trying to catch her breath, Chelsea remained sprawled on her back on the sand. When the barking stopped, she sat up only to discover that the dog was gone. She glanced in all directions, but there was no sign of the life-saving German Shepherd. Meanwhile, back on the sailboat, Chelsea's parents, Keen and Ellen, had awakened and noticed that their daughter wasn't in her berth. When they didn't find her topside, they started shouting, "Chelsea, Chelsea, where are you?" "Oh no," Ken cried out. "I found her life jacket here at the stern." "Please don't tell me she fell overboard," Ellen screamed. They frantically scanned the water, yelling, "Chelsea, Chelsea." On the beach, Chelsea heard her parents' desperate shouts for her. She waved to them and hollered back, "Over here, over here." "There she is," cried Ellen with joyous relief, "on the beach. Oh, thank goodness she's alive." Ken and Ellen hopped into their dinghy and quickly rowed to shore, where they hugged and kissed their frightened, weary daughter. "Chelsea, what happened?" asked her father. Are you all right?" Chelsea broke down and cried. I fell overboard," she said between sobs, "and I was drowning, and I thought I was going to die. And then this big dog rescued me." She cried even harder and longer. When she finally regained her composure, she gave a detailed account of her rescue. "There's an amazing story, sweetheart," said Ellen. Chelsea then thought her mother and father glancing at each other in a way that indicated they doubted her account. "You do believe me, don't you?" Chelsea asked. "All that matters is that you're safe," said Ken. "Did you see the dog?" asked the little girl. "Did you see her or hear her barking?" "No, darling, we didn't," Ellen replied. "She was a big German Shepherd," said Chelsea, "tan colored with dark brown spots. I wondered where she went." "Let's get you back to the boat," said her mother. Later that morning, while Chelsea was resting below deck, she overheard her parents talking about her ordeal. "What do you think really happened, Ken?" "I don't think a dog rescued her, that's for sure," he said. "There aren't any other boats anchored in this bay. The beach is pretty remote, although there is a village on the other side of the island. Besides, I didn't see any paw prints in the sand. They could have been washed away by the waves, but only if the dog walked along the edge of the water. The beach is very long and empty, and we would have seen the dog. Unless it swam out into the water, and no dog is going to do that. If there wasn't a dog, then who saved her?" I think Chelsea was in such a state of panic and confusion that her mind played tricks on her. More likely, she made it to shore on her own and simply imagined the dog. Chelsea had heard enough. She stormed up to the deck and declared, "I don't care what you think. I know what happened to me. A German Shepherd saved my life." About a half mile away at the other end of Walker's Bay, 12-year-old Rachel Katz stepped out of her family's rented beach house, carrying her flippers, mask, and snorkel. With only one day left of their vacation before the Katz family had to return home to New York, Rachel was determined to get in as much water time as possible. While the rest of her family was eating breakfast, Rachel, a suburb swimmer, stepped into the gentle, warm surf and began snorkeling toward a coral reef about 75 yards from shore. Rachel floated on her stomach and watched below as starfish wrapped its 6-inch long arms over a clamshell. The girl took a deep breath and headed down for a closer look. As the hovered, as he hovered, as she hovered over the starfish, she saw a shadow move across the ocean bottom. Her first thought was, "Oh my gosh, it's a shark and it's swimming between me and the surface." She fearfully gazed up and then blinked. "Hey, that's no shark. That's a dog." Rachel rose to the surface and pulled off her mask to get a better look. About 30 yards away from her, a tan German Shepherd with dark brown spots was paddling at a fast clip out toward the open water. Rachel started to swim after the dog, but she had promised her parents that she wouldn't go out past the reef. So she climbed onto a rock that stuck out of the surf. "Where's that dog going?" she wondered. Shading her eyes from the rising sun, Rachel scanned the horizon. She saw no other snorkeler, scuba diver, or swimmer. There wasn't another boat in 8 in sight except for a yacht on the other side of the curved bay. She noticed that 2 adults from the sailboat had jumped into a dinghy and were rowing to the shore where a long figure, a young girl, was waving to them. Judging from the actions, Rachel figured there was no connection between them and the dog. Rachel whistled, "Hey dog, come back here." She whistled again, but the dog didn't slow down or change its course. The German Shepherd kept paddling out to sea. Suddenly, the dog barked 3 times, like the happy barks a dog gives when he sees his master come home, and then disappeared under the water. "What happened to the dog? Where is she? Oh no, she better come back." Rachel waited for the dog to reappear. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes went by, and still no dog. "Oh my gosh," she said out loud. "She's drowned. This is terrible." Rachel jumped off the rock, swam back to shore, and dashed to the house. "Mom, Dad, I saw a big dog. It was a German Shepherd swimming in the ocean. Then she just disappeared under the water. I waited and waited, but she never surfaced. I'm afraid she's in trouble or probably drowned. Can we go look for her?" "Let's use the jet ski," said her father. Moments later, Rachel and her dad were out on the water, crisscrossing back and forth around the spot where the dog was last seen, but there was no sign of the German Shepherd anymore. As they returned to the beach, Rachel wondered out loud, why would a dog swim out to sea. That evening, the townspeople on the other side of the
It's a long one today.
of the island threw a beach party. Excuse me, in honor of their village's birthday. Over open fires, cooks were preparing conch fritters and fish kebabs. A steel drum band filled the air with reggae music, and people of all ages were doing the limbo. At the party, Chelsea and Rachel met for the first time when the older girl was getting her black hair tightly braided by a Bahamian woman. That corn-rowed hair looks so pretty, Chelsea told Rachel, especially the braids with the colorful birds or beads. I gotta get my glasses. Thanks, said Rachel. It's my last night in the Bahamas and I wanted to do something outrageous. The two girls struck up a conversation and began talking about the fun that they had on their vacations. As Chelsea told her new friend about the various islands she had visited, Rachel's eyes looked on a German Shepherd tan with brown spots that was walking briskly through the crowd. Could that be the dog I saw in the ocean today? Rachel wondered. It sure looks like her. I hope it is. Then I feel better knowing she's all right. I need to get closer look at her. Excuse me, Chelsea, said Rachel, but there's a dog over there that I want to catch. Chelsea followed Rachel's eyes and saw the German Shepherd. That's her. That's the dog. You know, that dog. It's a long story, but she saved my life this morning. Let's go. The girls ran into the crowd and followed the dog until she turned up a side street. The dog stopped at a bright green wooden house with red trim and blue shutters. The dog hopped onto the front porch and then laid down. The girls approached the dog carefully. She wagged her tail and let them pet her. I wonder, said Chelsea. It could be the same dog, but I'm not sure. What are you talking about? Chelsea told Rachel about how she had fallen off the sailboat and was drowning before the German Shepherd rescued her and pulled her shore. Then the dog just disappeared. That's incredible, Rachel exclaimed. I saw that same tan and brown dog right afterwards. She was heading out to sea, then she barked and went under the water. I never saw her again until now. Maybe. Rachel studied the German Shepherd. She looked smaller and darker than the one I saw. The girls jumped when the door to the house opened unexpectedly. The dog sprang to her feet and barked warmly. A large Bahamian woman in a pink straw hat and matching flower dress stepped onto the porch. Well, hello there, young ladies. Turning to the dog, the woman said, Miss Molly, did you bring those lovely lassies over to our house? Well, sort of, said Chelsea. We kind of followed her. You see, she looks like the dog that saved my life this morning. I fell overboard and a German Shepherd came out of nowhere and pulled me to shore. Rachel piped in, and I was wondering if this is the same dog I saw swimming out to sea this morning. She just vanished, and I was afraid she drowned. I was hoping your dog was the one I saw that she's okay. Really? Said the woman, her eyes wide open. Now this is amazing. This is really amazing. Pointing to two wicker rockers on the front porch, she told the girls, come sit a spell. I might have an answer for you both, but you might not believe it. She sat down with a grunt, her wooden rocking chair making a cracking sound from her ample weight. First things first, my name is Janelle, what's yours? Chelsea, Emerson, Rachel, Katz. So, Chelsea, you were saved from drowning by a German Shepherd, and Rachel, you saw the same dog swimming out to sea. Janelle quickened the pace of her rocking chair. This could be the day. Yes, indeed. After all these years, she could finally be free. What are you talking about? Asked Rachel. Now, girls, I don't want to disappoint you, but Miss Molly here is not the dog you saw today. Miss Molly is probably the only German Shepherd in the world who hates the water. And here she is, living on a tiny island surrounded by the sea. Janelle stopped rocking and scooted her chair closer to the girls. In a hushed tone, she announced, "What you saw, I'm pretty sure, was Sheba. Sheba, the ghost." Ghost? Both girls squealed at the same time. My, my hair turned from black to blonde. I'm lying. If I'm lying, yes, on the far side of the island, Sheba has been seen on the water and the beach since way back in the late 1800s. Want to hear about it? The girls nodded eagerly. There was this sailing ship, the Richmond, that was traveling from Cuba to Bermuda. About 20 people were on board, including the Winchester family, two grade school girls named Nancy and Polly, and their parents. They also had a dog with them, a German Shepherd named Sheba. Their father was in the exporting business and was moving the family to Bermuda. They set sail on a pretty day. Fore topsail was the fore topsail was run up, and they glided along with the gentle tide of a southern breeze. Unknown to the crew and passengers, a hurricane was already in full force, less than 500 miles away. It was bearing down rapidly on the Bahama Channel. 2 days out from Cuba, the seas began churning, and the skies took on the threatening color of an impending storm. There's an old seaman saying, "Red skies in the morning, sailors take warning. Red skies at night, sailors delight." Well, it was a red sky that morning. Before the passengers on the Richmond knew it, the hurricane struck. It was ferocious. The winds howled. The waves turned into the hands of an angry monster, smashing and tossing the ship willy-nilly. The Winchesters and their dog huddled below deck, wondering if the next wave could pitch the ship on its side. Above them, they heard the sickening sound of the mast cracking and splitting and toppling. The sails soon collapsed, and the ship was completely at the mercy of the tempest. Hour after hour, the Richmond was battered and shoved helplessly toward the shallows and the deadly reefs of the island. Mr. Winchester used rope to tie the girls to the separate pieces of wood so that if they were pitched into the sea, they might float. But before he could finish, the waves slammed the ship against the reef, cracking it open like a coconut. The splintered hull of the wooden ship spilled its cargo and its passengers into the sea. Nancy and Polly held on to Sheba as they tumbled into the water, but the furious waves ripped the dog from their arms. Sheba looked around at the broken pieces of the ship and found Nancy clinging to a board and crying for help. She was slipping and about to give up. Sheba paddled over to the girl, who grabbed a hold of the dog's hind leg. Then Sheba towed her safely to the shore, where Nancy collapsed from exhaustion. "That's exactly how the dog saved me today," Chelsea declared. Yes, indeed, said Janelle, and that's very important to the story. Now, where I was, oh yes, Sheba was dog tired. No pun intended, but her ears perked up. She heard the faint cry of another child. Was it Polly? Asked Rachel. Yes, little Polly was hanging for dear life on the broken mast that was floating in the water, but the current was pushing her out to sea. Sheba swam back out, even though she was exhausted after battling the waves and rescuing Nancy. That that dog loved both those girls so much. Nancy waited and waited on the beach, yearning to be reunited with her sister and their faithful dog, Sheba. But alas, it was not meant to be. Neither Sheba nor Polly was ever seen again. Rachel shook her head. How sad. Yes, such a terrible tragedy. Poor Nancy was overcome with grief. She lost her parents and her sister and her dog. The bodies of the other passengers eventually washed ashore, but they never found the bodies of Polly, Winchester, or Sheba. But what does this have to do with us? Asked Chelsea. Perhaps more than you could ever imagine. You see, girls, ever since that deadly hurricane, a strange sight has appeared every few years in Walker's Bay. Someone, it could be a fisherman, a tourist, a shell hunter, will see a tan and brown German shepherd swim out to sea and simply disappear under the water. Sheba's ghost? Asked Rachel. Yes, Sheba's ghost. Some of us on the island believe that Sheba has been a tormented spirit searching in vain for little Polly. It tugs at your heart, doesn't it, to think that the power of love between a dog and a girl could be so strong. This is going to sound stupid, but do you think that Sheba saved my life? Asked Chelsea. Think? I am totally, absolutely, positively convinced that's exactly what happened to you. You said earlier that this could be the day and that she could finally be free, Rachel recalled. What do you mean? I believe that ghosts have some unfinished business, unexplained or explained. Janelle?
Janelle.
Unexplained Janelle. In this case, Sheba couldn't rest because she died before saving Polly. Sheba's spirit had been roaming the waters here for nearly a century, waiting to finish her task. Then Chelsea showed up. When she fell overboard and was drowning, Sheba was there to save her life, the life of a young girl. Sheba's spirit no longer needs to wander the waters. She's now free to go wherever spirits are supposed to go. But I saw a dog too, said Rachel, and that was after Chelsea was rescued. I believe that what you saw was Shelby or Sheba finally being free from the torment of the last 100 years. May I ask you a question? Did she bark before she disappeared? Yes, she did, Rachel replied. She was saying goodbye to this world, explained Janelle. No one in this life will ever see her again. She's at peace now.
The end. Another long one. And this is Sheba, the best I could do for a German Shepherd like dog. And it's pretty interesting that all she needed to do to put her soul at rest was to rescue a little girl from drowning. Just like her previous owner who she wasn't able to rescue. So I'm so glad that she's finally getting her peace, and hopefully she got her peace. And hopefully you liked our little story. Mark had a little bit of trouble. He's missing his glasses. So a lot of the troubles that he was having was because he doesn't have his glasses right now, and he's going to get some, but didn't do too bad overall. So if you like this story, please give me a thumbs up. Hope to see you in the next one. Now, the next time, since this book is done, we're going to try to head back over to the Ghost Stories of Berks County, Pennsylvania. And the next one will be Witch's Hill. And so we're hopefully this weekend, we'll be able to go over there, take a quick run over there and do a little quick intro video of that. And then we'll read the story, and I can do another illustration. And until that time, have a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. If I don't see you sooner, I'm hoping to. I might do something a little different tomorrow, just to get maybe my 200 prompt book or whatever. But I'll still be doing some sketching in between the ghost stories. And if you have any ghost story books you'd like me to look up, maybe I can find them at the library or whatever, the local library. Just shoot them down in the comments, and I'll see what I can do. Thank you again. Bye-bye.